Okay, so in this section, we're going to walk through what I call the paycheck allocation exercise, which this is a method that's going to help you answer the question, what does my money, the money that I have today in my checking account, what does my money need to do for me today? Okay, so by mastering this method, you're going to come to know how to strategize your money effectively. You're going to come to understand how to quit living paycheck to paycheck. And you're also going to feel more confident. You're going to feel confident that your entire financial picture is completely mapped out and covered. Okay. And so before we jump straight into this technical side of the method and working through how to actually piece it together, I want to take a minute just to lay out some details to set the stage for this particular exercise, okay? And so I want you to assume just a few things with me. So we're going to assume, first off, that your checking account, the money you have available today, that you have $1,054.55 available to spend today. We're also going to assume that today's date is January 2nd, 2023. And then lastly, let's assume that you get your next paycheck on the 15th of January and the 29th of January. Okay. Now, our number one priority right now is we have to determine, how does your $1,054.55 in your bank account, how does that money need to be strategized today? That's what we have to figure out. And so the way we find this is by looking at your detailed spending plan. So this is where you listed out all your expenses and all the exact cost and all the exact due dates. It's that information right there. That information is going to guide our decision making on how to best utilize these funds. Okay. So what I want you to do, follow my example that I have up here on the screen. You can see I have 10 category groups listed out. So there's giving, home, subscriptions, insurance, debts, variable, vehicle, savings, annual expenses, and holidays. I also have the line items that correspond with each category group that I listed out. Okay. And by now, if you've watched all the YNAB setup videos, then this layout here should start to look very familiar to you. But now, hear me on this. We're going to move into the technical side. So my usual starting place when it comes to strategizing my dollars is I pay my tithe always first. So I already know 10% of my $1,054.55 is already accounted for. That's $105. And so within my tithe section, I'm going to put $105, which now leaves me with $949.55 left to strategize. And now the next expense is I always fund, and this is everyone's largest expense, is the rent or your mortgage payment. And so strictly an example here, follow me with this. I'm saying rent's costing us $1,000 per month. And rent is due on the first of every single month, okay? And now, here's where I see many people go wrong. Like, it's common for a lot of people to wait till the very end of the month. So once they receive their very last paycheck for that month, they then they fully fund their rent or their mortgage payment. So in theory, they're shelling out in one large lump sum, $1,000 all at once. But because our rent or our mortgage payment, it's typically our largest expense, paying one lump sum amount of money with only one check it cuts people's checks in half, right? So there's a shortfall now, which that can leave people strapped for cash until next payday, which means they're stuck in this paycheck to paycheck cycle. And so I teach people, let's fund your rent or the mortgage payment like this. So check this out. Per our example, we're assuming that today's date is January 2nd, right? And the rent payment of $1,000, that's not due till the first of the month. So that means that's not due until February 1st. So there's 29 days until that rent payment is due. So that gives us plenty of time to prepare, plenty of time to strategize for the rent payment. Now, we still have $949.55 left to strategize, right? However, we also get paid on January 15th and January 29th. And so I want you to do this for me. Think of the current dollars that we have. So that $949.55, think of that money like a paycheck. And so with that thinking, that means we have 3 paychecks before our rent of $1,000 is due. So I'm going to take $1,000 divided by 3 paychecks, which equals $333. Which means with the money that we have left today, $949.55, $333, that's going straight towards rent, which leaves us with $616.55 left to strategize. And then check this out. The next time we get paid on the 15th of January, we're going to set aside an additional $333 towards rent. And we'll do the exact same for the paycheck on the 29th of January. And so now we aren't forced to shell out $1,000 all at once in one lump sum at the end of the month. But instead, we're going to incrementally, and I said this before, but it's worth repeating because I believe in it. Incremental savings create big impacts when you start early. And so we're going to incrementally set aside $333 today. Okay. The next line item under housing is internet. And internet is costing us $60.26 per month. And that's due on the 3rd of every single month. And so assuming that today's date is January 2nd, our internet bill, that's due tomorrow. So that means we cannot divide this internet bill with future paychecks. We have to fully fund our internet bill today. And so I'm going to put $60.26 in our internet line item. And that leaves us with $556.29 left to strategize. Okay. Next, we have our cell phone bill. Cell phone bill is costing us $50 per month. And that is due on the 17th of every single month. So that means we have today's cash along with the paycheck that we'll receive on January 15th. So that means that we can divide the cell phone bill of $50 by 2 paychecks, which means that today we're going to set aside $25. And that leaves us with $531.29 left to strategize. Next, we have our electric bill, and that is costing us $83.11 this month. And so that is due on the 19th of every single month. So again, that means we have today's cash along with the paycheck that you'll get on January 15th. So that means we can divide that electric bill of $83.11 by 2 paychecks. So that means today we're going to set aside $42. And then we'll set aside the remaining $41.11 on the 15th once we get our next paycheck. And so because we set aside $42 towards our electric bill today, we're left with $489.29 left to strategize, okay? Next, we have our Hulu subscription. That's costing $6.99 per month, and it's due on the 9th of every single month. And so because we won't receive another paycheck until January 15th, we have to fully fund the Hulu bill today. So $6.99, that's going to go towards Hulu, and that leaves us with $482.30 left to strategize. Next, we have the Netflix subscription of $15.49 per month, and that's going to be due on the 17th of every single month. So that means we have today's cash along with the paycheck that we'll get on January 15th. And because this expense is minimal, it's only costing $15.49, you have two choices here. You can either fully fund the Netflix bill today and not worry about it on the next paycheck, or you can divide it by 2 paychecks to pay half now and the other half on payday, which is January 15th. So for this example, I'm going to pay half today, which means we're going to set aside $8 today, okay? Which leaves us with $474.30 left to strategize. Next, we have the auto insurance bill, which costs $140.44 every single month. And that's due on the 18th of the month. So that means we have today's cash along with the paycheck that we'll receive on January 15th. And so that means we can divide the auto insurance bill of $140.44 by 2 paychecks. So that means we're going to set aside $70.22 today, which leaves us with $404.08 left to strategize. And we'll set aside the remaining $70.22 on the 15th of January once we get that next paycheck. I hope this is beginning just to start to make sense about how this process is supposed to look. So moving on. Next, we have the Capital One credit card. Now, when it comes to debt, if you've watched my liabilities video and you watched my debt tunnel vision video, you already know my stance. You know where I stand on how to initially fund any of your debts. So we're going to focus on the minimum payment first. Again, we're focusing on the minimum payment first. Once we focus on the minimum payment, then we're going to make sure all your other financial obligations are covered. Once those have been covered, then we're going to circle back around if there's money available to pay more on the debt than the minimum payment. Okay? So for the Capital One credit card, the minimum payment is $61, and that's due on the 14th of the month. So that means we can't divide this bill with any future paychecks. We have to fully fund it. The Capital One minimum payment has to be fully funded today with today's cash. So let's put $61 in our Capital One line item, which means we're left with $343.08 left to strategize. All right, moving on. Next, we have groceries. Now, groceries, groceries can be, how do I say? Groceries can be a tricky expense for some new budgeters. And I say that because since there's no set amount, some people kind of get stuck in analysis paralysis on, well, how much money should I put towards my groceries? And so I'll say this: start conservative. Build in increments with allocating money to your variable expenses. You can gradually supply more money if need be. All right. So here's what I mean. We have $343.08 left to strategize in our budget. But there's still more expenses that we have to add money towards, right? So right now, I'm going to just set aside $100 towards groceries. And that's going to leave us with $243.08 left to strategize. And as I continue doing my budget, if I notice that $100 seems a bit too unrealistic, then I'll just adjust my numbers along the way. All right, I can always come back to it and pivot where need be. Next, we have our personal allowance. So this is our fun money. This is our spend how you want, no questions asked money, do as you please. And so for right now, I'm going to set aside $50, which leaves us with $193.08 left to strategize. Next, we have gas for our vehicle. And so I want you to use the same train of thought for gas how we used for groceries. Okay. So for now, I'm going to just add $50 towards my gas, which leaves us with $143.08 left to strategize. Then we also have our vehicle maintenance. And if you've watched my variable expense video, you know my stance on preparing for auto maintenance. So right now, I'm going to set aside just $25 for auto maintenance, which leaves us with $118.08 left to strategize. Next, we have our emergency savings. And so I'm going to just set aside $28 towards emergency savings. And that leaves us with $90.08 left to strategize. Next is our vehicle registration expense. This is our annual expense. So that cost us $164 a year. And that's due on May 12, 2023. However, based on this example, again, we're assuming that it's January 2023. So that means there's 5 months in the making. There's 5 months to plan for this expense. So let's take that $164 and divide it by 5 months. And that comes out to $32.80. So that means we must save $32.80 in the month of January to hit a target of $164 by May of 2023. And so now, because we have today's cash, plus we have 2 paychecks that we'll receive on the 15th and the 29th of January, let's take our $32.80 and divide that by 3 paychecks. So that means that comes out to $11. And so right now, we're going to set aside $11 towards our vehicle registration. And that leaves us with $79.08 left to strategize. And then lastly, we have Stacy's birthday on September 16th. And just for example's sake, let's just assume, dream with me here. Let's assume that Stacy is your mom's name. And so you want to be diligent to prepare for your mother's birthday. You want to take her out to eat, do something with her, celebrate her for her birthday. Okay. Now let's assume that your target, you want to have $200 come your mom's birthday just to spend on her. So let's take $200 divided by 9 months, which comes out to $22.23. And so we must save $22.23 in the month of January to hit a target of $200 by September. And remember, because we have today's cash plus 2 paychecks that we're going to get on the 15th and 29th of January, let's take $22.23 and divide that by 3 paychecks, which comes out to $7.41. And so right now, we're only going to set aside $7.41 towards our mom's birthday, which leaves us with $71.67 left to strategize. Now, check this out. Every one of our expenses has been fully funded. And we are still left with $71.67 that doesn't have an exact purpose. We need to give that remaining dollars a name. And so now let's double back. Let's double back and look again at our expenses. What other expenses, what other savings goals do we want to contribute our money towards? And so one of our priorities should be we need to get out of debt. Credit card debt, we don't want it. So let's add more money now. Let's go back. Let's add more money towards our Capital One credit card. Now, we originally set aside $61 that funded our minimum payment, right? But with having $71.67 left to strategize, I'm going to set aside an additional $51.67. So that means the total amount that we're allocating towards credit card debt right now is $112.67. And here is the great news. You still have upcoming income on the 15th and the 29th of January to put more money towards your debt, right? Come on. So we're still left at this point, we're still left with $20 to strategize. And so to close this thing out so we can wrap up, that remaining $20, let's add $10 to our personal allowance, which increases the total to $60. And then let's add $10 to our emergency savings, which that will increase the total amount in our emergency savings to $38 saved. All right. And you can see the entire $1,054.55 has been strategically allocated down to the cent. All your money has a name. All your dollars have a specific job to complete. Your money is moving with intention at this point. And so when you get your next paychecks on the 15th and the 29th of January, you'll follow the same structure here. So mastering this method, depending who you are and how you're used to looking at money and handling your cash, I recognize this may take you some time to dial this process in. If it takes you a few budget cycles to understand this and get used to it, that's completely okay. Building a new habit should take some time to get used to. But consistency is what's key. You have to be consistent with this, because this process here, I am telling you, if you can stick with it, and if you can have it become a part of your money routine, you're going to begin to look, to spend, to invest, and to save money completely differently. You're going to see a shift in your finances. So you are well on your way. I can feel it. You are well on your way to transforming into an excellent steward of money. Don't stop now. Keep the momentum pushing, and I'll see you in the next video.